Hello, Dr. Leahy. Hope all is going well. And yeah, I want to give you a little bit of a description of how I created what I created and why I created what I created. So my final project includes 4 posters that are all unitarily linked with the same message. So it's a composition of 4 posters, so 4 pieces of art that tell a story through their linkage. So yeah, let's begin here. So as you can see here, I have these 3 images complete here. So 1, 2, and 3. So I want to show you how I created these mirrored or almost seemingly mirrored images. So, I imported each of these layers individually. So this was a single picture just like this, and I imported them. And what I did was I created a copy of each one. So I had a total. So if we go over here, I have this copy here. So you obviously can't see it, but what we're going to do here is we're going to go Control T. We're going to transform this copy. We're going to go Shift, and we're going to rotate this image. And boom. And we're going to hit Enter. And we're going to drag this image down until we get it just about lined up, or as best we can. And I'll zoom in here for you so we can kind of see a little bit better. So we'll get this lined up as best we can. Make sure there's no gappage there. It's probably good right about there. We've got the snapping telling me that it's okay. So what we'll do is we'll come to Edit, and then we'll go to Transform, and then we'll go to Flip Horizontal. And then we'll just drag this guy over to the right a little bit until they line up. And I'd say right about there. Boom. So I did that with each of the 4 images you see total to get these singular images that you can. What I mean by singular images is this. See, these you can move around as if they're a singular image. Whereas this one isn't quite there yet, so, pardon me, whereas this one isn't quite there yet, it's still 2 images. So what we're going to do is we're going to control click the 2 copies, and we're going to merge these layers together, boom, and then we have a singular image. Super cool. Control Z. So furthermore, from there I created a black background, and I would drug each of these layers into what you can see here is the composition of 4 of them. And I drug them into here, and I duplicated each layer 3 times, so I had a total of 4 images that were the same image. And yeah, let me talk a little bit about the composition of each of the following ones now that you kind of understand and know my process and why I did what I did. So I started out with a symmetrical layout of these 4, and I chose like the nicest. I chose the nicest or the most, I guess, happy. It's maybe not the right word, but it's the best way I can describe it at this point. But I chose the most happy images, or the least. Actually, better yet, let's scratch the word happy. Let's use the word least meaningful. So I chose the least meaningful images, the one that the viewer would have a less hard time interpreting, and I implemented them here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, or copy 1, copy 2, copy 3, copy 4. Now I chose this layout for this one specifically because I think that it's important to represent the symmetry here, and everything's kind of balanced at this stage in time when you look at this piece of work. So furthermore, I moved into this and I said, okay, that's super cool, but let's talk a little bit more about why I chose this. And I chose this because, I want the viewer to see things as being unitary, simple, and well put together. Now moving into the second one over here, we see things are less unitary. They're more asymmetrical rather than perfectly symmetrical like you saw in the previous one. And I did that because now the character, or the subject, is his emotion is changing. I want the viewer's emotion to change as well. I want the way in which the viewer to interpret. I want the way in which the viewer interprets these images to change as well. And that's kind of why I chose this other layout. I wanted it to be a little bit more. I wanted it to be a little bit more weird, and I wanted the viewer to be even more. I wanted the viewer to understand even less why the images is created this way. Now remember, my intention behind this project was to create a piece that viewers would look at and go, this is really interesting, but I don't understand it. I'm having a hard time understanding it. I want people to think, and that's why, again, I chose this layout and why I chose such a weird fashion and display and also dark aesthetic. Now in this one, I went back to a linear fashion, but there's some subliminal stuff here. So actually each image is 10% darker than the other one. So this one's at 50% brightness, this one's at 40% brightness, this one's at 30% brightness, and this one's at 20% brightness. And I did this because I want to show the darkness or the I don't know if evil would be the right word, but I wanted to show the kind of the darkness and struggle that the character was going, or that the subject was going through in each stage of the posters. So if we come back to this one here, you know, okay, this seems to be representational of good or less severe struggle. Whereas we come to the second one, when we come to the second one, his struggle seems to become even more profound and more strong. And here, you know, his struggle is even more and more profound, which you can see by the singular images. But I also want to represent that his struggle is becoming more and more profound through each stage. So, you know, stage 1, not such a big struggle, stage 2, less of a struggle, and the brightness is what's representing the profoundness of his struggle. And then finally we come in here to number 4, where his head's kind of cocked and he's almost detached from his previous struggle or whatnot. And really what this is representing is kind of either, again, it's the way in which again it comes to viewer's discretion, but this is representational of you know, did he make it through the struggle? Has he overcome it, or has he let the struggle get the best of him? But the only thing the viewer can really tell for sure is, you know, it's a calmer scene, but you know what happened to him. And this is kind of the conclusion of these two middle images. And again, you know, here's the conclusion, which is indicative of the intro. So they both relate in their layout, which I think compositionally helps tell the story further. And furthermore, I chose, and I haven't talked about this yet, but I chose this mirrored fashion for each of the images because I think it shows the parallel between, you know, how profound or how unprofound the struggle is, and that can be, and that parallel shows, you know, somebody might be going through a struggle on the inside and they don't show it on the outside. So I want that mirror to be kind of representational of how someone is viewing their own struggles, or how someone views somebody who is struggling. So yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen and hear me out about why I chose the aesthetic that I chose, why I chose the composition that I chose, why or why not I chose the mirror, and how I went about doing my process. Thank you. Have a great break.